Hi, hello there. Welcome to SQL Statements. On this video lecture, we will be talking about part 1 of the SQL commands used in accessing the database. So this video covers some basic information about SQL commands used in accessing the databases. Alright, so let's start with the definition or what an SQL is. SQL stands for Simple Query Language. Okay, it is a standard language for accessing databases. So would it be Access, Oracle, okay, Cache, or any other databases that you have there. So as what I'm saying, SQL is a standard language for accessing databases. And in here, we will be talking about some of the basic commands used in the SQL. So, as I mentioned earlier, SQL stands for the Structured Query Language. So, SQL lets you access and manipulate data on the databases. So, it is an ANSI or the American National Standard Institute standards. Now, what can SQL do? Okay, so SQL can execute queries against a database. And that's what we're going to show you on this video lecture. SQL can retrieve data from a database. SQL can insert records in a database. It can also update records in a database. It can delete records from a database and create new databases. So SQL can create new tables in a database. SQL can also create stored procedures in a database. Also, it can create views in a database. And it can set permission on tables, procedures, and views. But on this video lecture, we will be talking about the basics of SQL. Since this is a course, Information Management, which covers only an overview or the basics of SQL, more of the discussion and thorough examples and demonstrations on your database course. So for now, let's just move on. So SQL is a standard, but although SQL is an ANSI, okay, so there are different versions of the SQL language. However, to be compliant with the ANSI standard, they all support at least major commands such as select, update, delete, insert, where in a similar manner. So note that most of the SQL database programs also have their own proprietary extensions in addition to the SQL standard. Alright, so we will be only discussing commands, okay, so that are compatible with the database that we're using for the course, Information Management, which is compatible with Access. Alright, so using SQL in your website is also possible. Okay, so to build a website that shows data from a database, so you need an RDBMS database program, example MS Access, SQL Server, or MySQL. So to use a server-side scripting language like PHP or ASP, which is beyond the scope of this course. Okay, so to use SQL to get the data you want from the databases, and to use HTML or CSS. Alright, so you'll have this integration of tools, okay, so that is possibly available, okay, so to create or to build a website, okay, so that shows data from your database created. Alright, so the next one is RDBMS. We've talked about this in the lecture. Okay, so RDBMS stands for the Relational Database Management System. So RDBMS is the basis for SQL and for all modern database systems such as MSQL Server, IBM DB2, Oracle, MySQL, and Microsoft Access. So the data in the RDBMS is stored in a database, objects called tables. So a table is a collection of related data entries, and it can consist of columns and rows. Right? Now, let's talk about the SQL syntax. Alright, so the next one is database tables. So a database most often contains one or more tables. So each table is identified by a name. Okay? So for example, you've got customers or orders. So tables contain records, rows with data. All right. So remember I asked you from the previous activity at the lab, so to import different access or different Microsoft Excel tables into a Microsoft Access database. So we will be using that throughout the demonstration of this video. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the SQL statements. So most of the actions you need to perform on a database are done via SQL statements. So the following SQL statement selects all the records in the customers table. So this command here, select space asterisk from customers. So this command will select all customers or all records in the customers table. Okay, so keep in mind that SQL keywords are not case sensitive. Select is the same as select. All right, so it's not case sensitive. Convention, all SQL keywords are in the uppercase. All right, so in our course, information management, and even on your quizzes, okay, so our convention is all SQL keywords are in uppercase. All right, I'll repeat. For the convention of the course, all the SQL keywords should be in uppercase. Next, how about the semicolon after the SQL statements? Does it require semicolon to be present on your code? Well, some database systems require a semicolon at the end of each SQL statement. So semicolon is the standard way to separate each SQL statement in database systems that allow more than one SQL statement to be executed in the same call to the server. So on this presentation or video lecture, we will use semicolon at the end of each SQL statement. All right. So some of the most important SQL commands include select. Okay, so select is used to extract data from a database. So if you want to get something from your databases, so you can use the command select. All right. So update is used to update data in the database. So delete is, of course, as the name implies, delete data from a database. So insert into inserts new data into a database. Okay, and then create database creates a new database. So alter database is modify or edit a database. So you also have create table, which creates a new table in the database. Alter table modifies a table. Drop table means delete a table. Create index creates an index or search key. All right, and drop index deletes an index. Okay, so again, so on this video lecture, we will be using only the basic commands, all right, for SQL. And select is, of course, one of the basic command there. So the select statement is used to select data from a database. So the result is stored in a result table called result set. All right, so let's start. Okay, so first is, let's talk about the SQL select syntax. So how do we use this select command? So the syntax would be select column name, okay, so, or select space column name, comma, another column name 2, for instance, comma, column name 3, and so on. So from, again, we have to use uppercase for the keywords, okay, and then from table name. Okay, so, or you could use this. So select asterisk from table name. All right. So we will be using the database that I asked you to create in the previous activity for the course of this demonstration and for the course of the entire information management course. All right. So let's have an example. So select column example. So when you use this command select, so the following SQL statement selects the customer name and city, okay, city columns from customers table. So take note that in a database that we have created, let me open it. Okay, so let me fire up my Microsoft Access here. in the database that we have created. So on customers, okay, so when you click on that, so take note that we have here customer name, right? You've got contact name, address, city, postal code, country. So these are the field name, right? So we will be using these tables that I asked you to create. Okay. Now to execute an SQL statement, so what you need to do is to go to, okay, so let me close this first. All right, so close. Do you want to save the changes? No? All right. So let's click on create. All right. And then you can use query wizard or the query design. So let me just use the query design. All right. So we don't have to configure anything here. So we will just be executing SQL commands. Now, where do we execute SQL commands? So right click on this query here. We will be using this for the entire demo. Right click, okay, and then click on the SQL view. All right. So you'll have this. So by default, if you will observe, select is there. So what we're going to do is we are going to demonstrate our first example. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So let me minimize this. Okay, so from the PowerPoint, it says select customer name, city from customers. So the following SQL statement selects all the columns from the customers table. Okay, so to do that, for instance, I'm going to type in this command onto your SQL or Access. Okay, so you just have to type in here. Okay, so let's say select customer name, okay, comma, city from customers. So when you execute this, you just have to ensure that you have to end it with a semicolon there. Okay, so click on run. Okay, so what happened was we were able to display the customer name and the city. We're talking about all the 91 records on your database. Okay, so that's it, right? You've got customer name and city fetched from your database. So that is the select column example. So again, let me minimize this. All right. So select customer name, city from customers, right? Or you could have select asterisk from customers. Okay. So what's the difference with this second command here? Right. So let me go back to Microsoft Access. So if you're done with the output, you have save it. Or for our demo, let me just go back to SQL view. Okay. So how about this command? Okay. Select asterisk from customers. Run it. So this will just display all the customers, okay, or all the entry, okay, from the customers table. And this is your complete database or the complete entry for the table customers. All right. Okay. Navigating in a result set. So most database software systems allow navigation in the result set with programming functions like the move to first record, get record content, and move to next record, etc. So programming functions like this are not part of this video lecture, or it's not even part of the course. So to learn about accessing data with function calls, so PHP programming can be used, or any programming language can be used. All right. So SQL select distinct statement. So the select distinct statement is used to return only distinct or different values or unique values from your table. Okay. So in a table, a column may contain many duplicated values, and sometimes you only want to list the different or distinct values. So the distinct keyword can be used to return only distinct or different values. All right. So the syntax would be select distinct column name. Okay. So from your table, if you have several column names, from and then the table name, semicolon. All right. Now, using this example here, select distinct, all right, city from customers. So the following SQL statement selects only the distinct values from city, okay, from the customers table. So let's do it. All right, so let me go back to SQL view and execute that command. So I have here select distinct city from customers. Okay, so run it. So this will run all the distinct values, okay, on the city column, right? So it's here. So these are the unique city on the customers table. So there are about 69 records there, which is unique. So again, when you say unique, there is no redundancy in here. Okay. So if you have several records containing Berlin, it will be only getting one. All right. So that's the use of this thing. All right. Okay, so how about the use of the where clause? So the where clause is used to filter the records. So if you want to filter what you want to see on your screen, we have to use this where clause here. All right. So the where clause is used to extract only those records that fulfill the specified criterion. So the syntax would be this. So let's go directly to our example. Okay. So the following SQL statement selects all the customers from the country Mexico in the customers table. Okay. So how are we going to do that? So select asterisk from customers where country equals Mexico. Okay. So let's execute that one. So let me go back to Microsoft Access. Okay. And then go to SQL view. Okay. So type it in. So select asterisk from customers where country equals Mexico. So we are expecting that this will display only records having country Mexico. So if you want to view a specific records with, for instance, Mexico only as the country, then you can do that command. Right? So the command is, so select asterisk from customers where country equals Mexico. That's the use of the where clause there. All right. Okay. So next, text fields versus numeric fields. So SQL requires single quotes around text values. So most database systems will also allow double quotes, but in Microsoft Access, so we will be using single quotes. All right. So however, numeric fields should not be enclosed in a quotes. Example. So select asterisk from customers where customer ID equals 1. Okay. So again, let's go back to Access. All right. So let's execute that. Type your SQL statement here. So select asterisk from customers where customer ID equals 1. So when you run this, so this will display the record having a customer ID equals 1. So sort of we are searching for customer 1 on the customers table. All right. Okay. Open operators in the where clause. So the following operators can be used in the where clause. So you have equal, not equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, okay, less than or equal, between, so that means between an inclusive range, all right? Like is search for a pattern, and then in to specify multiple possible values for a column. Okay? So SQL and or, right? SQL and or operators. So the and or operators are used to filter records based on more than one condition. Okay? So the and operator displays a record if both the first condition and the second condition are true. Logic, right? So the or operator displays a record if either the first condition or the second condition is true. So example, so the following SQL statement here selects all the customers from the country Germany and the city Berlin in the customers table. All right, so to do that, select asterisk from customers where country equals Germany and city equals Berlin. All right, so let's demonstrate it on Microsoft Access. All right, so select asterisk from customers where country equals Germany and city equals Berlin. So you could also write it or type it in the way as you see on the presentation. But in my demonstration, let me just use a single liner command. All right, so again, select asterisk from customers where country equals Germany and city equals Berlin. So when you run it, we are expecting that it will display, okay, all records or customers, okay, where their country is Germany, okay, but not just Germany, and city equals Berlin. So take note that in Germany we have several cities, not just Berlin. But since you have here the and, right, condition, so this Germany and Berlin should be satisfied. And this is what we can see on the output when we run it. All right, so we only have one record, okay, came from Germany, city, Berlin. All right. Okay, so how about the use of or? So the following SQL statement selects all customers from the city Berlin or München in the customers table. So earlier in the demo, it only shows Germany and Berlin. Since we use here the or, if any record matches Berlin or München, then it will be displayed on the output. So after the query. All right. Okay, so let me open my Microsoft Access here. Okay, let me go back to the SQL view and run it. So select asterisk from customers where city equals Berlin or city equals München. So when we run it, we are expecting that it will display records, okay, or customers from Berlin or München. Okay. Next. Combining and an or. Is it possible? Yes. So example, select asterisk from customers where country equals Germany and city Berlin or city München. Okay. So the country should match with Germany. It should be true. And any of the statement can be true. All right. So let's demonstrate it. All right, so SQL view. Okay, so So select asterisk from customers where country equals Germany and city equals Berlin or city equals München. So run it. So again, there are two records in the customers table. Okay, came from Germany and it's either from Berlin or München. All right. Next, the SQL order by keyword. So the order by keywords is used to sort the result set. Okay. So the order by keyword sorts the records in ascending order by default. So to sort the records in descending order, you are going to use the command or the keyword desc, okay, or descending. All right. So this is the syntax. Okay, so select column name from table, order by column name, ascending is default, and then you can have this. Okay, so let's have an example. So the following statement command or SQL statement selects all customers from the customers table sorted by the country column. All right, let's do it. Okay, SQL view. So the command is select asterisk from customers, order by country. So it should be in alphabetical order. All right, so let's run it. So if you'll observe here, all the records, okay, from the customers table displaying by or alphabetically. All right, so by country alphabetically, so Argentina, Austria, Belgium, and so on. So if you'll observe, it's alphabetical. All right, so that's it. Next, let's do the opposite. We want it in descending order. Okay. Go back to Access. So select asterisk from customers. Okay, order by country descending. Bang. All right. So again, the order of the records is in descending order. So starting from Venezuela, all right, down to Argentina. All right. Okay, next. So order by several column example. So the following SQL statement selects all customers from the customers table sorted by the country and the customer's name column. Okay, so let's do it and demonstrate it on Microsoft Access. Okay, so select asterisk from customers, order by country, and customer name. Okay, so when we run it, so this is it. Okay, so country, all right, and customer name. Customer name. All right, so is that customer name? Yes, so by country and then customer name. Okay. Okay, so another example. So the following SQL statement selects all customers from customers table sorted ascending by the country and descending by the customer's name. Okay, so let's do it. All right, so select asterisk from customers, order by country is ascending order and the customer name is descending order. So let's run it and check. So country is ascending, the customer name is descending. All right. So of course it has to satisfy this first, and then this customer name. All right. Okay. So next, SQL insert into statement. So the insert into statement is used to insert new records in a table. Okay. So the insert into statement is used to insert new records in a table on your database. So this is our syntax. It is possible to write insert into statement into forms. The first form does not specify the column names where the data will be inserted, only their values. Okay. So the second form specifies both the column names and the values to be inserted. So again, this is the syntax. So let's have our example here. Now assume that we wish to insert a new row in a customers table. So we can use the following statement SQL here. Okay. So let's run it first, and then later on, we find out and notice that we did not insert any number into the customer's ID field. All right. So the customer ID column is automatically updated with a unique number for each record in the table. All right. So let's do it. Okay. So let me open my Access here. Okay. And execute this command. All right. So when you run it, so again, this will insert new value or new rows to the customer name. Okay, run it. So you are about to append one row there. Okay, so when you click yes, then that will add a record on our database. So for now, let me just close this. Okay, so anyway, since you have these notifications, that would be added to the database. Right? So let's move on to the next. Just have to see these notifications that it is about to be added. All right. Next, it is also possible to only insert data in a specific columns. So the following SQL statement here will insert a new row, but only insert data in the customer's name. Okay, city and country columns, and the customer ID will focus, or will of course, okay, also be updated automatically. So example, so insert into customers, customer name, city, country, values, cardinal, okay, Stavanger, Norway. So that is for customer name, cardinal, city is Stavanger, and then country is Norway. So what is the content of the blank or empty cell here? So you try to execute it on your computer. All right. So let's demonstrate it. All right, let me run it. So insert into customers, customer name, city, country. This record here. Let's see if we can have the notification. Run it. Yes. All right. So when you press yes, that would be appended. All right. So you can do it on your database. Okay. So next would be the update statement. So the update statement is used to update records in a table. Okay, so it should be an existing record. So the update statement is used to update an existing records in a table. Okay, so the syntax would be update table name, set, okay, column 1 value, column 2 value, and so on, where some column equals some value. So notice the where clause in the SQL statement or in the SQL update statement. Okay, you'll have this. We already have used this earlier. So the where clause specifies which record or records that should be updated. So if you omit the where clause, all records will be updated. So take note of that. Okay. So assume we wish to update the customer. Okay, Alfred's footer kiste, all right, footer kiste with a new contact person and city. So we use the following SQL statement there. So update customers, set the contact name to Alfred and city to Hamburg. Okay. So where customer name equals Alfred. Okay. So let's do it. Access. All right. So update customer set contact name Alfred City Hamburg where customer name is Alfred's footer kiste. All right, run it. Okay. So you're about to update a row. So again, when you click yes, then it will be updated. All right. So I already have updated it. Okay. So let me just close this so that it will not affect our database for the next demo. Okay. Next. Update warning. So be careful when updating records. So if we had omitted the where clause in the example above, like this, okay, so what will happen is there will be an update warning. Okay, so well, in Microsoft Access, you have seen it on this demo. Okay, next is SQL delete statement. So the delete statement is used to delete records in a table. All right, and beware of deleting any record on your database. So again, on the demonstration, we just want to see the notifications. So let's do it. Okay. So the syntax would be delete from table where some column equals some value. So notice the where clause in the SQL delete statement. The where clause specifies which record or records that should be deleted. So if you omit the where clause, all the records will be deleted. So this one here is a crucial activity. All right. So again, let me remind you, never ever delete any record from your database. Okay, especially if it is a production database. All right. So in our example here, assume we wish to delete the customer's Alfred's footers kiste. Okay, so from customer table. So we use the following statement here. So delete from customers where customer name, okay, and contact name is Maria Anders. All right. So let's do it. All right. So just a notification. We're fine with that. All right. Run it. So you're about to delete one row from the specified table. All right. So again, beware of deleting records. All right, so next one is delete all data. So it is possible to delete all rows in a table without deleting the table. Okay, so this means that the table structure, attributes, and indexes will be intact. All right, so the syntax would be delete from table name or delete asterisk from table name. So note, be very careful when deleting records. You cannot undo this statement. All right. Next, SQL injection. So an SQL injection can destroy your database. So this is being done mostly by the hackers online. All right. So in the previous sections, you have learned to retrieve and update database data using SQL. So when SQL is used to display data on a web page, it is common to let web users input their own search values, right? So since SQL statements are text only, it is easy. With a little piece of computer code to dynamically change the SQL statements to provide the user with the selected data. Okay. Now, SQL in the web pages. So we have what you call server code, which is running, of course, on the server side. Okay. For example, you'll have this. So the example above creates a select statement by adding a variable text user ID to select string. Okay. The variable is fetched from the user input, okay, to the page. So the rest of this chapter and video demo describes the potential dangers of using user input in SQL statements. So this video lecture will not teach you how to do SQL injection, okay? So it will just cover or gives you an overview what an SQL injection is. Again, you're gonna have it on the more advanced courses. Now, what is SQL injection? So SQL injection is a technique where malicious users can inject SQL commands into an SQL statement via web page input. So injected SQL commands can alter SQL statement and compromise the security of a web applications. All right. So we're talking about security when you do this. All right. Or when you do the programming, there should be always a security measure. Okay. So let's say that the original purpose of the code was to create an SQL statement to select a user with a given user ID. Okay. So if there is nothing to prevent a user from entering wrong input, the user can enter some smart input like this. All right, so this is possible. So it seems like you can type any code in here. All right, so there should be a validation on your input. Okay, so every time you create a web page asking values from the user, there should be always a user validation. All right. So the server result would be, so select asterisk from users where user ID equals 105 or 1 equals 1. Okay. So what will happen here is the SQL, this one, okay, the SQL above is valid, right? So it will return all rows from the table users since var, okay, that is where 1 equals 1 is true. Okay, 105 or 1 equals 1 is true. So take note, it will return all rows from the table user. So you will be able to see the values on the table. So does the example above seems dangerous? Yes, it is. What if the user's table contains names and passwords? Then the attacker were able to see it, right? So the SQL statement above is much the same as this. So select user ID, name, password from users where user ID equals 105 or 1 equals 1, which will result to always true. So a smart hacker might get access to all the usernames and passwords in a database by simply inserting 105 or 1 equals 1 into the input box. So see, this is very dangerous. So that's why we always have to impose security in every programming that we are doing. Okay. Okay, so here is a common construction used to verify user login to a website. So you've got, for instance, username equals, for example, Jando, and then password is my pass. So on the server code, uname get string, username, okay, the password. So SQL equals select asterisk from users where name plus the username and pass. Okay, so the result would be, so select asterisk from users where name equals Jando and pass equals my pass. All right, so that's how it is being executed. Now, a smart hacker might get access to the usernames and password in a database by simply inserting or equals into the username and password text box, similar to this. All right, so the code of the server will create a valid SQL statement like this. Okay, so select asterisk from users where name, all right, this one here. Now the result SQL is valid. So it will return all rows from the table users since where equals is always true. All right, so that's SQL injection. Okay, one of the most common attacks launched over the web. So most database supports batch SQL statement separated by semicolon. So you can have this. You can have multiple, okay, query or SQL commands. Just have to separate it with semicolon. Okay, so the SQL above will return all rows in the user's table and then delete the table called suppliers. All right, drop table suppliers. That would delete the table suppliers. That would delete the entire table defined here. Okay, so if we had the following server code, okay, for instance, the server code would be text user ID, get request string user ID, textql equals select asterisk from users where user ID equals, okay, plus the text or txt user ID. Okay. And the following input would be this. So user ID, 105, job table suppliers. This is again a valid SQL statement. So that would result to select asterisk from user, where user ID equals 105, job table suppliers. That would be deleted. All right. Again, this course or video lecture just gives you an overview of what an SQL injection is. Right. So you could have it on more advanced course. Okay, so what are the parameters for protection? So some web developers use a blacklist of keywords or characters to search for in SQL input, so to prevent SQL injection attacks. So this is not very good idea. Many of these words like delete or drop and characters like semicolons and quotation marks are used in common language and should be allowed in many types of inputs. In fact, it should be perfectly legal to input an SQL statement in a database field. The only proven way to protect a website from the SQL injection attacks is to use the SQL parameters. So SQL parameters are values that are added to an SQL query at execution time in a controlled manner. Okay? So, for example, this applies on ASP.NET, all right? So note that parameters are represented in the SQL statements by this @ marker. Okay, you'll have that. So the SQL engine checks each parameter to ensure that it is correct for each column and are treated literally and not as part of the SQL to be executed. Okay? So another example. Okay. So you'll have this, values. You have just learned to avoid SQL injection, one of the top website vulnerabilities. Right? So at least you are aware about SQL injection. So the following example shows how to build parameterized queries in some common web languages. Okay, so again, this would depend, okay, on the programming language you're using. So you'll have this at zero. Okay, so we have a lot of security or protection, okay, on SQL injection. But then again, that's what I'm saying. This course is not the right course to deal with that for the moment or for the time being. Okay, so this is just an information management, and this only gives you some overview of what an SQL injection is. Okay, so another example here shows how to build parameterized queries in some common web languages. So this one now is for ASP. All right, so if you will observe, you have that at, okay, code. Now in PHP, okay, so they also have their own parameterized, okay, or protection against SQL injection. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. So SQL SELECT TAP clause. Now the SELECT TAP clause is used to specify the number of records to return. So the SELECT TAP clause can be very useful on large tables with thousands of records. So returning a large number of records can impact the performance of your device. So not all database systems support the SELECT TAP clause. All right. So in Microsoft Access, this is the syntax. Okay. So select TAP number or % column names from the table name. Okay. So SQL SELECT TAP equivalent to, okay, in MySQL and Oracle. All right. So MySQL syntax. Okay. So select column names, limit. So example, select asterisk from persons, limit 5. Okay. That's for MySQL. For Oracle. Okay. So again, we have different syntaxes for different databases. Okay. Now let's go back to Access. So SQL SELECT TAP example. So the following SQL statement here selects 2 first records from the customers table. All right. So you're gonna have select TAP 2 from customers. Again, let's go back to our Access here. Okay, so select top 2 from customers. Let's run it. So this will display the top 2. Again, if you have thousands of records here, so that would take time. All right. Okay. Next, how about the use of percent? So the following SQL statement selects the first 50%, okay, of the records from the customers table. So that would be select top 50% asterisk from customers. Again, if we are using the keywords, it should be in uppercase. All right. So let's do that. Okay, run it. So top 50%, so half of your database or half of the records on customers. So we have over 90 plus, right? So this is the top 50%. So you've got 46 records. All right. Okay. So how about the SQL like operator? So the like operator is used in a where clause to search for a specified pattern like in a column. Okay. So the like operator is used to search for a specified pattern in a column in a table. Okay. So the syntax would be select a column name from table name, where column name is like and then the pattern. Okay. So let me just discuss this. Okay, so anyway, this is easy. Okay, so the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city starting with S. So the syntax or the example would be select asterisk from customers where city like S percent. Okay, so what is that percent for? The percent is a wildcard. Okay, so when I say wildcard, it can represent any missing letters both before and after the pattern. Okay. So for example, the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city ending with letter S. Okay. So that would display all the customers, okay, having the city, okay, ending with letter S. For instance, so there are records there with city ending with S. Example, what city ends with S? Let's say you've got Camarines City, all right? Or 13 Martires that ends with S, all right? So if you have records, okay, on customers ending the city with S, then that would be displayed. All right, next. So how about select asterisk from customers where country like, okay, asterisk land asterisk. So the following SQL statement selects all customers with country containing the pattern land. Okay, example, Thailand, all right, Switzerland, what else? Say Poland, all right. So all of those countries containing land on the name will be displayed. All right, next. So using the not keywords, okay, you've got the not keywords here, allows you to select records that do not match the pattern. So the following SQL statement select all customers with a country not containing the pattern land. So select asterisk from customers where the country not like percent land percent. So what does it mean? So all customers, okay, so not came from the country containing land will be displayed. So this will not display customers from Poland, from Thailand, okay, so from Switzerland, all right. So that's not like, all right. Okay, so how about the wildcards? So we have already seen the wildcard earlier using the percentage, okay. So a wildcard character can be used to substitute for any other characters in a string. Okay, so in SQL, wildcard characters are used with SQL like operator. And SQL wildcards are used to search for data within a table. So with SQL wildcards, you could have as a percent, okay, a substitute for 0 or more characters. Okay, you've got this, a substitute for a single character, a character list, okay, or current character list. So sets on ranges of characters to match. Or you could have matches only a character not specified within the brackets. Okay, so let's have here some examples. So the following SQL statement selects all customers with city starting with BER. Okay, city starting with BER. So select asterisk from customers where city like BER percent. So any city starting with BER like Berlin, all right, so that would be displayed. Okay, so the following SQL statement selects all customers with city containing the pattern ES. So if you have something like select asterisk from customers where city like, you've got here percent any character having ES in between these characters will be displayed on the screen. Okay. Next, how about this one? So the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city starting with any character. This one is any character followed by Erlin. So if you have Berlin on the database, that would be displayed on the screen. Okay, the underscore there represents any character. As long as you've got Erlin there, so Berlin, if there would be Berlin or a Berlin, all right, so that would be displayed if there would be city with names having such. All right. Next. So the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city starting with L, followed by any character, followed by N, followed by any character, followed by on. So for instance, select asterisk from customers where city like starting with letter L, followed by any character. The third character is N, followed by any character, and then you've got ON. So we're looking something like London here, right? So that would be displayed on the screen. Okay, so how about the card list wildcard? So the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city starting with B, S, or P. Okay, so select asterisk from customers where city like, you've got BSP, and then you've got percent. Okay. Or you could have the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city starting with A, B, or C. You could try this on your database. All right. You could try some of the commands on your Microsoft Access. But if there would be no output, that means, okay, so it is not supported by our databases. All right. So the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city not starting with BS or P. So this is the opposite of what we had just discussed earlier. You have not like, right? Okay, so let's talk about the SQL in operator. What is this? So the in operator allows you to specify multiple values in a where clause. Okay. So this is the syntax. So select column name from table name where column name in value 1, value 2. Okay. So for instance, the following SQL statement selects all customers with a city of Paris and London. Okay. In. So let's do it. Let's demonstrate it. Okay. Let me open Microsoft Access again. All right. Let's demonstrate that. SQL. Okay, so select asterisk from customers where city in Paris or London. So what did the output? So that would display, okay, customers. Okay, so London here and Paris. All right. So that is based on our statement there. Okay. Okay, so that has displayed all customers with the city of Paris or London. Okay, how about between? So the between operator is used to select values within a range. So the values can be numbers, text, or dates. Okay. So syntax, select columns from table where column name between value 1 and value 2. Okay. Example. So the following SQL statement selects all products within a price between 10 and 20. So the syntax would be, or the SQL commands would be select from products where price is between 10 and 20. Right? So let's demonstrate it. Again, you can explore some of the commands on your database. Okay, so select asterisk from products where price is between 10 and 20. Run it. Price is between 10 and 20. So if you will observe here, okay, so there is no price here more than 20. It's between 10 and 20. You've got 10 there, okay, but then there is no 20. You've got 19.5. That's between. All right. Next, how about not between? So to display the products outside the range of the previous example, we use not between. Okay. So what would be the effect? So that would display all products price not within this range. All right. So again, let's do it. Okay. All right. Run it. So see, it's not within 10 and 20. So you've got 9.5 there. Okay. But not between 10 and 20. So it could be less than 10 and more than 20. All right. Okay, so how about between operator with an in example? So the following SQL statement here selects all products with a price between 10 and 20, but products with category ID of 1, 2, and 3 should not be displayed. Okay, so that would display products like more than 3 here, which is 4, right? But it's between 10 and 20. So take note that we have here again our logical operator. Okay, now to demonstrate it, let me open again my Microsoft Access. All right, run it. Okay, so that's between 10 and 20 for the price, and it should not within the what is that, product ID? Okay, category ID, right? Category ID. Okay, this is the category ID here. Why is it a date? It should not be a date. Okay, so if we have the correct data type here, category ID. Okay, so it should be, right? It should be category ID. It should not be in 1, 2, 3. So it could be on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. All right. Next. Okay, so between operator with text value. Okay, so the following SQL statement selects all products with a product name beginning with any of the letter between C and M. Okay, between C and M. So let's do it. So the command would be select asterisk from products where product name between C and M. Let me run it on my Microsoft Access SQL here. Okay. So product name between C and M. So our focus would be on product name C and M, between C and M. So that is from letter C to M only. All right. So there is no product name here starting with letter A. It should be between C and M only. All right. Next. How about not between operator with text value example? So the following SQL statement selects all products with a product name beginning with any of the letter not between C and M. So this will display letter A and B and more than letter M. So that's M. That's NOPQRSTUVWXYZ. All right. So that would be displayed. Let's do it again on our Microsoft Access. Okay, not between C and M. Run it. Product name, we've got A here, right? But then not between C and M. All right. So that's it. Okay, next. Between operator with date value. Okay, so something like the following SQL statement selects all orders with an order date between, okay, so July 4, 1996 and July 9, 1996. Okay, so you can also do that. Okay, let's try it on our Microsoft Access. Okay, let's see if we could have some records that would fall on that range of date. Right, SQL view. All right, run it. So we do. Okay. Again, our order date here is not in date format. Okay, but then if you have the correct date format, then that would pop up there, the correct output. All right. So notice that between operator can produce different results in different databases. So in some database or databases, between select fields that are between and excluding the test values. Okay. In other databases, between select fields that are between and including the test values. So if you are using different types of databases, it's important for you to test the output first. All right. So, and in other databases, between select fields, okay, between the test values, including the first text value and excluding the last test value. So therefore, check how your databases treats the between operator. All right. Okay, so the next one is SQL aliases. But then, as what I'm saying, we will not be covering this because there would be other advanced courses that would take good care of the rest of the SQL topics. Okay, so we end up with that for now. Okay, and maybe when we see each other on more advanced course like databases, then we will be using the complete sets of SQL statements and commands. All right, so for now, that's the end of this video lecture. Okay, have a great day.